Good.
Yeah, and it's a great town. I don't regret it at all.
It's great. In February, it gets a little bit rough.
Yeah, and I moved in
Temperature-
December, so I was like,
Oh,
I hope
okay.
it gets better. But the summer's great. It's been, there's so much to do. It's awesome.
That's true.
Yep.
I mean, as warm as it is here, it's warm south. So
Yeah.
that's all you have to think about.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a boat.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You have, I know that you studied when you became bat mitzvah and then you sort of went away, but do you have any, maybe Cantor asked you, do you have any synagogue skills that you are interested in, like, getting into? Either, that means like ritual skills, Torah reading, oral singing, or like social action skills, social action interests and skills.
Yes, I definitely am more into the social action,
Okay.
like volunteering, that kind of thing. When I was younger, I did a lot of Torah portions and read for the rabbi, and whatever they needed me to do, I would do it. But that was back when I had everything memorized, and you know.
Okay.
I'm hoping I fall right back into it.
Well, we have all kinds of
Yeah.
things here, and although I'm
Awesome.
not usually in sales, I'm just in service.
Yeah.
I would say that a community like this, we are large enough that we're able to host a lot of different activities here. You see our website.
That's little seating.
Yeah.
But we have these 4 areas. We have community, we have learning, we have religious, and we have social action.
Yeah.
Social action is monumental.
Mhm.
And worship is pretty cool.
What do you think about the book?
So
Yeah.
check us out. Glad you're
Awesome.
here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're
I'm gonna
welcome.
throw a book here just in
welcoming,
case.
so
I'm glad to
it's
know
good.
that.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hello, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom, Amy. How are you?
Thanks for that phone call.
Oh, welcome.
It took a weight off our.
I hope it was okay.
Yeah, I know you had lunch with one rabbits today.
I actually ended up now.
Oh, no, all right.
Because of the news, we were actually.
Yeah.
That's gonna be, that's actually deferred, but that's okay.
That's it. Anyway, she said she was.
Question
But I
We will.
get it, you will. But she was right for that.
It was
And grateful.
I appreciate it, thank you.
script based.
How's everybody's health?
Good.
Good.
We just pulled all the weeds in the garden.
Thank you. The last time you came, I saw you doing that too.
We did it again. We got a great big pile. It was an easier after rain, but we got it. It has her name on it,
Yeah, I know.
and as I said to her, if it has her name on it, you are obligated to pull weeds. Doesn't have my name on it, but I thought I'd help it out.
You're a good guy.
That's right.
That's what's important.
Now, Gardner, what can I say? All right, so you said something about going to Milwaukee,
Yeah.
both?
Both,
What are they doing?
So they live together, actually.
Sure.
No, they're both actors.
Okay.
They live in this 2-bedroom apartment near downtown. Whose name is Beth. I'm going there actually tomorrow for a couple of days.
And where are they at?
So they are acting at various small companies. There are many is a relative term, but there are more theater companies or professional than there are in here, certainly, or even in Minneapolis. My daughter lived in Minneapolis for a little while, and she found the theater community not to be as big as she thought it was. But so they're finding little gigs here and there. You know, they have other money making and rent paying jobs. And
Well, waitressing and waitering and waitressing were our,
my son is phone receptionist, the front desk receptionist, the Jewish Federation in Milwaukee.
same thing.
Same thing, similar. I mean,
Good job.
I don't know where to go from there.
I never run down work.
And my daughter is doing voiceover work. She's doing. They each have acting gigs here and there. And they're auditioning and hit or miss. They do a lot of auditioning. But she's doing voice work. She's doing books on audio books.
Oh, great.
So she's doing a lot of those kinds of things, you know, to hone her skills and also to give her time to act doing those things. She also does twice a month dinner detective theater thing.
Like a mystery.
A mystery, right? You know, people get together. There's 60 to 80 people in the dining room of a big hotel, and there's a troupe of about 10 to 14 actors who come and do their show. It's a murder mystery.
Scarlet in the library with
Something like that. Right? So that's the thing. And for now, they're comfortable. So,
This
Or
one's
Oregon.
in Seattle.
Seattle.
It's the Oregon sister.
Okay.
You know, it's nice.
Got it.
Yeah, but,
Oh, good help to them. I hope that they get the right care.
yeah, we'll need to verify.
Definitely. Definitely.
Zach and Ziggy.
Right.
Cantor Rabbi. Excuse me, this is, Deb, how do you say your last name?
Schneiderman.
Hi.
And she's
Good to see you.
Good to see
I
you.
understand
Got
you're
a
gonna
new
come
member.
tonight.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
welcome. You're from
Cantor
Southern
Rabbi.
California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're just going to take a few moments to bring Shabbat to us. We become part of this community. We come from many different places.
A melody in which I have at times found comfort and strength. Hopefully we can find some of that for ourselves this evening as well. Yai lai lai lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai yai lai 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 lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Shabbat Shalom. Community is a place from which we draw strength. And so as we begin our worship tonight at the end of a very long and unusual day, I ask that we pause and steady ourselves. From today might be a difficult time for some of us, more difficult than for others perhaps. The news of this day, it can't be minimized, although for some it's over there, but for some it is deeply personal. It is right here. It is absolutely personal. And I hope that though whatever group that we are part of, that we can continue to communicate, to talk, to share feelings, to know that certain people are hurting, and to know that certain people are worried and frightened. I hope that we can bring wisdom and our passions to this moment as well. You know, our hope, when the cantor and I get together and we plan what worship is going to be, our hope tonight was to enter this Shabbat in joy and in anticipation of a quiet day and a good week ahead. And admittedly, we knew because of the events of the previous couple of months, that our United States Supreme Court was likely to rule in the way that it did. And yet, the suffocating depth of the ruling and the enormous blast radius of its opinions hit us very hard. Whenever a right or a privilege is removed from us, we feel loss, pain, grief, anger, a lot of angst. But I would also let us be mindful of the words of Rabbi Shai Held, who reminds us that Shabbat is, in large part, about remembering what the world can be better than it presently is. So even in the midst of our bleak feelings, let us remember the potential of our world, the possibilities of human kindness, and the overwhelming strength of our community that can be, given other circumstances, and hopefully given this one as well, so affirming and bright. May the lights of our Shabbat candles on this day allow us to see a better future. May our Shabbat gathering here, whether we are in person or online tonight, bring comfort and solace to all who seek them. May we indeed gain strength from one another. We are beginning on page 128 with Hine Ma Tov, 128.
Hine Ma Tov, umanayim, shevet achim, gam yachad hinei matov, umanayim, shevet achim, gam yachad, yadadai, umanayim, shevet achim, gam yachad hinei matov, umanayim, shevet achim, gam yachad.
The bracha, the blessing for lighting of Shabbat candles, is on page 120. Who can look directly into the light? We can behold only a fraction, a fragment of this light. And when that one light is fragmented, the colors of the rainbow may result. So let us give thanks for all the colors that are ours. All of them are part of the one light we are all bathed in, the one light that is our fountain of life. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the secret fastness of the heart. Blessed are the hearts with strength to stop their beating for honor's sake. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Kabbalat Shabbat begins on page 130 with Bo'u Nishtachaveh. It's the third paragraph down on page 130.
I wrote this melody inspired by the last phrase on this page. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Today, if we would only hear God's voice. What is the voice that we need to hear in this moment? Bo'u nishtachaveh v'nichra nivrecha lifnei Adonai Oseinu. Kihu Eloheinu, Kihu Eloheinu, La'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado. Bo'u nishtachaveh, Bo'u nishtachaveh v'nivra, nivrecha lifnei Adonai Oseinu. Kihu Eloheinu, Hayom, hayom, im bekolo. Hayom, im bekolo, tishma'u. Bo'u nishtachaveh v'nifrah. Everybody, hey, Adonai Oseinu. Ihu Eloheinu, Ihu Eloheinu. Va'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Hayom, hayom im bekolo. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Hayom im bekolo. Hayom im bekolo tishma'u.
On page 138, a song for welcoming this Shabbat day, Lecha Dodi. Tonight we're offering verses 1, 6, 8, and 9 as we graciously and formally welcome Shabbat to our community.
Lecha dodi likat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Lecha dodi likat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad. Anu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'lelitila. Lecha dodi mikat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Lecha dodi mikat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Lo tevoshi lo tikami matish tochachi umatehemi. Bach yechesu aniyei ami v'nivneta. Ir al tila lecha dodi mikat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Lecha dodi mikat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi ve'ez Adonai taritzi. Al yarish ben parzi v'nismecha ve'nagila. Lecha dodi likat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Lecha dodi likat kala penei Shabbat kabbalah. Boi v'shalom ateret bala. גם בשמחה ובצולה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בני שבת נקבלה.
On page 140, a song for this Shabbat day, a song of great thanks and gratitude, even for our lives and for this community and this place and for the world.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר ולזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר ולזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Sometimes we are asked to offer prayers that speak to God, and we don't know what that means because maybe we haven't had our own individual experience of God. And I found a meditation that may help us as we enter Ma'ariv, as we enter a time of worship. This is from a prayer book published by the Wilshire Boulevard Temple in Los Angeles. And they write in their prayer book, "How can I love you, you who are so far away? How can I know you whose face I have not seen? How can I approach you when I am laden with guilt or problems? I can love some of your creatures, and so I can love something of you. I can know some of your world, and so I can know something of you. I can approach you with repentance or prayer and righteous deeds, but I can do none of these without your help. Help me, therefore, to love and to know you, and pray that my existence can become a life that is like a leaf in the afternoon sun, a leaf that reflects God's great and golden light." We continue with Baruch Hu on page 146. We invite you to rise. Baruch Hu 146.
A seed of a melody to plant that we'll reap later on. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
At the top of 149, we continue together. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני. יאי לי 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 המעריב ערבים.
On page 150, Ahavat Olam, our love of Torah. 150.
We introduced a new melody last week. If you were with us, you'll remember. If not, you'll catch on. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת אהבת עולם. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי לי יאללה לי לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי לי יאללה לי לי, יאללה לי 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 לי. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 152.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. Adonai echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad.
Please be seated. We continue on page 154 at the top.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We read together at the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. 158.
Ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam. I lie da 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 da, ya bye bye bim bam. I lie da 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 da, ya bye bye bim bam. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot sepele, nora tehilot sepele, ma'alechutecha ra'u banecha, פותחי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam. I die da 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 da, ya bye bye bim bam. I die da 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 da, ya bye bye bim bam. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 lai. Ga'al Yisrael.
We continue on page 160 with Hashkivenu, this evening prayer seeking divine guidance, divine protection, not only at night, but also throughout the days and nights of our lives.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ve'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shelomecha. V'tagnenu beitza tova milfanecha. V'hoshienu, v'hoshienu, leman shemecha. V'hoshienu, v'hoshienu, leman shemecha. V'hoshienu, v'hoshienu, leman shemecha. V'hoshienu, v'hoshienu, leman shemecha.
Hope and faith, action and love. To survive in the world, and especially at a time of doubt when we seek divine assurance and human love, we surround ourselves with friends and close relations who can instill in us these life-preserving values. I saw a tomato plant growing the other day, much more mature than I would have thought for this time in the season, I think, but you who are gardeners may know more than I. I was told that this plant came forth pretty quickly from its seed. Given the rains here in the last couple of months, I wouldn't doubt that. With great willpower and resolve, the plant pushed itself through the soil, grew up into the air, brought up nutrients from the earth, and finally expanded with the largest, reddest, earliest, and most delicious fruit you can imagine, if you like tomatoes, that is. God's protective care is a part of what we hope for at this time. For we also need quality seeds to grow in the soil. We need strength to overcome the obstacles in our lives. We need the internal determination to rise and to grow, and ultimately enough energy to produce the fruit of our efforts. May we walk through the world with good companions, and may we continue to bring forth new ideas and love, and ever grow with God's goodness and God's protection.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום, סוכת שלום. עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
The tefillah is a time of self-reflection. We do a lot of that every week when we worship together. We enter into a time of tefillah to look inside and to wonder how we can become better people. And I thought I would offer these words tonight. This is from a poet whose name is Shakti Gawain, who writes this: If we judge and criticize ourselves, others will judge and criticize us. If we hurt ourselves, others will hurt us. If we lie to ourselves, others will lie to us. If we are irresponsible to ourselves, others will be irresponsible in relation to us. If we blame ourselves, others will blame us. If we do violence to ourselves emotionally, others will do violence to us either emotionally or even physically. If we don't listen to our feelings, no one will listen to our feelings. If we don't love ourselves, others will not love us. On the other hand, if we respect ourselves, others will respect us. If we trust ourselves, others will learn to trust us. If we are honest with ourselves, others will be honest with us. If we are gentle and compassionate with ourselves, others will treat us with compassion. If we appreciate ourselves, others will appreciate us. If we honor ourselves, others will honor us. And if we enjoy ourselves, others will enjoy us too. We continue with Tefillah, which is on page 164, a time when indeed we look inside and wonder how it is that we can all become better. We invite you to rise, page 164.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
166.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, ve'ezrat Sarah.
Page 168.
Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalchel chaim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al givurot, Umidomelach, Melech meimit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol.
Amen. On page 170.
Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We'll continue on page 175. 175, we continue at the middle of the page together. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadecha b'yir'ah na'avod.
Dr. Viktor Frankl, the very noted psychiatrist and survivor of Auschwitz, tells a story once that when he came to the camp, he had in his coat pocket the manuscript of one of his books, his first book, so the story goes. But that jacket was confiscated from him, and he was given a much more shabby jacket, a shabbier jacket, in return for that. And when he realized that, he said, oh, that's the way it goes. There goes my book. And he reaches inside the pocket, and there inside the jacket, there is a page that is torn from the prayer book. And it is a page that has in it the Shema. And he interprets this, or he interpreted this, as a challenge to himself to live his thoughts rather than simply putting things down on paper. And you who know the work of Dr. Frankl may know that he had great thoughts about the human being and the inevitability of life on this planet. So we ask ourselves, what are the chances, what are the challenges that we have in the days, weeks, and months ahead? We pause for silent prayer, and we'll continue then eventually on page 180.
Imrei fi vehegyon lipi Iu leratson Imrei fi vehegyon libi Lefanecha Adonai Tzuri vegoali Lefanecha Adonai Tzuri vegoali Iu leratson Imrei fi vehegyon libi Iu leratson Imrei fi vehegyon libi Lefanecha Lefanecha Adonai, Tzuri v'goali. Ose shalom bimromah, Uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, Uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
We are going to be changing the order of a few of the blessings and communal things that we do here between all of the normal prayers. So if this seems a little bit out of order, we have it under control. Don't worry about it. But we want to pause right now and do something special for members of our community who are ill at this time, or people whom we know who are ill at this moment, who are hospitalized. People with COVID, people with recovering from injury or illness or surgery, people nearby, people who are far away. We say prayers for the 80 or so people who are on our Temple Bethel healing list, and we'll say prayers for people who are in your spheres of family and friendship circles as well. And you'll be able to offer those names in a moment if you like. We don't know exactly how God operates in the realm of healing. But we do know that when someone needs healing and they have a community that is praying on their behalf and they know that, and that gives them a heightened spirit. It allows them to employ the natural disease-fighting elements they have inside and gives them the best chance of overcoming their illness. We also pray for those people who are experiencing terminal illnesses, and we hope that a wholeness will come to their families as well, because those situations are so, so difficult. Again, those 80 people or so on our healing list that we think of. And now if you have a name of someone that you'd like to offer, we would like to share your prayers with them and with you. Are there others we should be thinking about tonight? On page 371 in the prayer book is Misha Beirach. It's at the middle of the page. It's the indented section, a prayer for healing. 371 at the middle.
Misha Beirach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. These are some thoughts from this week's Torah portion and from the events of this week. Rav lachem, you have undertaken too much. Sometimes we feel like we've undertaken too much, I bet. But in the Torah portion this week, Korach, who is a member of the tribe of Levi, approaches his cousin, if you will, his tribal cousins, Moses and Aaron. He yells at them. He says, Rav lachem, you've undertaken too much. Korach, that is, and his followers now, and they're mere members of the tribe of Levi now. They're not part of the priestly leadership, but they presented Moses and Aaron with a rebellion. They rebelled against the system of the classic orthodoxies of their era. Their desire was to expand the leadership possibilities of the people of Israel to them, and even to all of Israel. Actually, because of the way the textual traditions work in this particular parashah, we have people who are interested in expanding just the Levitical power structure, and other people who are interested in expanding the power to all of Israel. And everybody should have equal kinds of authority, i.e., they're looking for democracy, right? So they said, in effect, you guys, Moses and Aaron, you who have held the religious authority in your hands, you who have lorded over the people the power and divine sanction, and you haven't permitted people to possess the same divine sanction over their own affairs, you've done too much for you. Rav lachem. You have to relinquish power. You must relinquish your authority. Each one of us is a sanctified person. Each one of us was at Sinai. Each one of us is a sanctified vessel. So give us the power. Share that authority with everybody. With everybody. Everybody. You know, on this day of all days, I wish that I could say those words to the members of the Supreme Court. I wish that they would be willing to offer and share the same kind of authority and power that I grant them because of the way that our constitutional systems work. I wish I could offer this same response to those who are charged with judging people and cases fairly and without bias. And based not only on the 6-3 vote that overturned Roe v. Wade, which was today's decision, but also on all the hints of the decisions that accompanied this ruling, we have to ask the question now, is the right to privacy on the block? What happens to precedents that are based upon that right? The rights to contraception, interracial marriage, to same-sex marriage, the right to affirm the gender in which we discover ourselves. What other rights may be removed when the right to privacy is gone? This decision announced today hits hard on those who believe it is the right of each person to control their own childbearing future. It hammers away at the right to privacy that undergirds so many of the other cherished and necessary privileges that we have won in a hard-fought battle as Americans. This decision to overturn Roe is for me and for many a time of sadness. And I'm sad because of the loss of agency that now confronts those people in our country who can bear children. Now that that right is eliminated, and in many states like Wisconsin, access to abortion is now technically and legally eliminated in this state. Those who desire to control their own bodies are likely to become subservient to those who wish to control others' bodies. And frankly, I am fearful for the violence that this decision could bring forth. This issue, this cause has already brought forth violence against anti-choice organizations and against abortion providers, people on both sides of this issue. We know we have to cool the rhetoric of our society, and yet people are angry on both sides of this issue. So I certainly pray that we express our displeasure in the right ways, using the right tools, like voting. Oh, did I mention voting? Use the press to express opinions and our desires. Bring organizations along, like a synagogue community maybe, which is legally permitted according to our tax laws to support legislation that is going through a legislature. We are entitled to do that. We can demonstrate using nonviolent resistance. We can do so many things. Because despite the sadness, I think that we should also feel determined. And I'm determined to struggle this fight for human rights, which is how I view this. You know, we have so many rights in this country, and we have oftentimes served as an example to other countries on this planet who also need their human rights increased. So let us be like now other countries which have enshrined the right to abortion, like Canada, of course, Mexico, you know, that Catholic country, Ireland, you know, that Catholic country, and Israel, that Jewish country, and other countries as well that have recognized these rights, as complicated as they are, and given them to their citizens. Let us also join together with the majority of American Jewish organizations, synagogues, and including the Union for Reform Judaism and the Women of Reform Judaism and the Central Conference of American Rabbis, all of whom have taken pro-choice stands and have stood in the breach to help those who are in need of reproductive health care. We have to help one another continue our struggles for these causes. Let it not be said that this is too much for us. Never let anyone say to us, Rav Lachem, you've taken upon yourselves too much. You know, ultimately in the Torah portion, Moses responds to Korach. He says back to Korach, he says, you've taken over too much. You've taken on too much, you sons of Levi. Sort of calls them names. You who have gathered here, you who have hinted at rebellion, now you instill rebellion. Now you bring it to you. You who have ridiculed ritual, you who would foment revolution, you have taken on too much. The power exercised by the ancient Israelite priesthood was truly too much, I think, for any central religious or judicial authority. That might be one of the reasons why we have rabbinic Judaism today and not Torah Judaism. And therefore, in a very important sense, this bout in the Midbar, that is this duel in the desert, this battle between Moses and Aaron on the one side and Korach and his followers on the other, I think in a way that did represent what we call in the rabbinic world a machloket l'shem shamayim, which means a dispute that is instituted for the sake of heaven. And it's a moniker that is reserved for controversies and conflicts that are truly important and monumental. They're not piddling, they're not small. But a machloket l'shem shamayim, a dispute that is for the sake of heaven, means you have much at stake, and the result will touch directly upon the soul of each individual. And it's that kind of dispute that we face today, I think, one of fundamental rights of the individual, including reproductive choice. So let us meet this moment together and let it be a time when we can dictate our efforts for future action and for the benefit of future generations. Just briefly, I see 3 areas in brief where we can be active together. As I mentioned or hinted at before, let us think about legislative action to continue to bring efforts to pass state and federal legislation that will help preserve this right to an abortion, both in state and federal law. Second would be educating ourselves as voters and to ensure that the views of candidates are aligned with our own value system. And third would be something we can do very important, and that is support individual patients in their immediate quest for out-of-state abortion access. There are funds all across this country, here in Wisconsin, nationally, and in many states. and they're established to help patients who need financial aid to leave a state for a day or for a couple of days and to go to another state to obtain an abortion if they need. We can search online for all of the organizations that allow us to donate to them. But then there may be practical things that we can do. We can provide transportation to a different state. We're close to the Illinois border here. We can actually provide food or daycare for children whose mothers have to go and provide medical care for themselves. There are many things that we can do. At this moment in time, we can move from intellectualizing about all of these matters and angsting about all of these matters and continue with our arm's length discussions, or we can move to the very real world of action, social justice activities for which we are well known. Our work will not only be for the sake of heaven, and therefore it is worthy of our time. It is worthy that we can help in real and practical ways. Let us find, indeed, those ways to help one another do what we need to do. Cantor?
Yes. Thank you, Rabbi. In our world today, and particularly at this moment, it can be hard, if not almost impossible, to imagine that world complete, to feel a possibility of radical oneness, to picture a time when nation won't lift up sword against nation, when all of us will dwell in peace with no one making us afraid, when all of us will see one another in our fullness as human beings made in the divine image. And yet, almost every time we gather to pray, we come to a moment in our worship when the Siddur describes just such a time. And on that day, you, God, shall be one, and your name shall be one. So the question becomes, how? How can such a world ever exist? How can we ever experience even a taste of that sense of oneness? And one possible answer might be found by looking at the very first word of that prayer, Aleinu. It's on us. It's on us, as Rabbi mentioned, to take the words that we have said or received out loud and in our hearts and to turn those words into actions. To let the nourishment that we have given our spirits fuel our work as individuals and as a community to build that world redeemed. Tucked into the middle of Aleinu, we find a quote from the 4th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. V'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim. And take it into your heart that Adonai is our God. And I would add, take it into your heart, everything that we have said and heard this evening. Take it into your heart and carry it into every other part of your life. Let it inform everything you do to put more love and goodness and wholeness into the world. So I want to share this melody with you all that I learned for this text, which you'll find in your Shabbat program. If you'll feel comfortable joining in at any point, you're welcome to. You're also welcome to listen. This is again taken from the heart of Aleinu. V'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim. V'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim. Einod milvado, Einod efes zulato, Einod milvado, Einod efes zulato, v'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim. V'hashevota el levavecha, Adonai hu ha'Elohim ein od milvado ein od efes zulato ein od milvado ein od efes zulato echad Adonai echad echad u'shemo echad echad Adonai echad echad u'shemo echad 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 Adonai echad echad u'shemo echad ein od milvado ein od efes zulato ein od milvado ein od efes zulato והשבותה אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים והשבותה אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים.
I'm on page 592 in the prayer book. The poet has written, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." At this sacred moment, we call to mind those who passed from this world, those whose presences we miss, those whose memories give us laughter and tears and the whole range of human emotion that we cannot share with them, and yet we know that they are present in our hearts and our minds, and we know that what they did in life influences us today. These are those whom we remember, those who died recently connected to our community, and those whose Yartzeiten occur at this time. If you are present tonight in mourning or observing a Yartzeit, we invite you to rise as the name of your loved one is recited, and then you'll be joined by the congregation together as rising and saying the mourner's Kaddish with one another, with each other. No, with one another is correct. The recent deaths connected to our community, we remember Jillian Flory Landweber, daughter-in-law of Larry and Jean Landweber, a wife of Michael Landweber and mother of Allison and Maya Landweber. And these are the Yartzeiten that we recall at this time, continuing our dedication to their memories. We think of Herman Black, Leon Vodovosov Blair, Rose Bogust, Ruth N. Carpenter, Margaret Halloran Catrona, Razel Feldman, Sylvia Folberg, Alfred J. Frank, David S. Frank, Jack Friedman, Toby Friedman, Keitha Eisenstein, Sylvia Kadushin, Leo Kagel, William Kemp, Phyllis G. Kenigsberg, Muriel King, Gary Kukitka, Eugene I. Kornguth, Sally Kushinsky, Helen Lavin, Susie Lewis, Michael Mail, Herman Motner, Ruth Ottenstein, Dr. Harold Ottenstein, Jeanette Polans, Arlene Rotter, Solomon Schklar, Abe Sossman, Fran Weintraub, Annette H. Winston, and Jacob H. Waldenberg. There may be others in this community of worshipers tonight who are remembering loved ones whose names you might want to share with this community. And so if you'd like, we invite you to remember your loved ones as well. Others we should be remembering. Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be blessings in our hearts and the hearts and minds of all those who knew them. Testifying to the faith then that binds the generations of our people together, we now invite everyone to turn to page 598, and we rise as we recite together the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. May God send peace to all who mourn and comfort those who remember on this night and always. If we say amen, please be seated. We didn't do, yeah, that's off the thing, so we'll find a place for it. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. In a few moments, our services will conclude, and when it does, we are invited to join one another for an Oneg Shabbat out on the terrace. Maskless. You can be maskless out on the terrace, so enjoy the outdoor air. It's a beautiful evening. That's where we are setting up the Oneg Shabbat, so please join one another there. And we are grateful to the Temple Beth El Sisterhood for sponsoring the Oneg Shabbat tonight. Thank you to Sisterhood. Just a few brief announcements. First of all, our COVID announcements. You know, things change, so please be mindful of our website, because as things change, we change with the times. We try to, at any rate. For right now, we thank you for wearing masks properly. We thank you for providing proof of vaccination for entry to our building. And if you test positive within 5 days of being here, please let our Executive Director, Stephanie Kushner, know, so that we will inform people here who are here tonight that there was someone here who had a positive exposure. You might have had a positive exposure. So again, we just want to be sure that we keep people informed. All of that, of course, is confidential and anonymous. Tomorrow morning, there will be Torah study on Zoom at 9 o'clock, led by Steve Olson. Tomorrow evening, a night in the tropics. Yes? I'm sorry, but it's both here and on Zoom. Thank you for the correction. It's both here and on Zoom. So, and I guess there'll be balloons. So, so please join us for Torah study, either in person, which will be in the adult lounge, as it normally had been, way down at the other end of the hallway at 9 o'clock, or you can be virtual as well. It is Torah study, now hybrid. That's interesting. Okay. And tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m., a night in the tropics here. I'm not sure its registration is open any further. I don't know. I think that I don't know. You can try to register online, but if you haven't, sorry. But, you know, it's registration deadline was last week. But anyway, Temple is just getting together with members to have a fun night out here on the terrace with food provided by Miko Poke. It's a donation, I understand, from Miko Poke, so which is really excellent. And enjoy that if you're coming to that. Next Friday evening, at 5:30 p.m., we have a pre-Shabbat service nosh that we hope will be outdoors. And at 6 p.m. will be Shabbat outdoors if the weather is decent. If the weather is not decent, we'll meet here somewhere. And then in the building, but we have services beginning at 6 p.m. this coming Friday. It's the first Friday of the month, so we start services at 6 p.m. And next Saturday morning, there is Torah Study Now Hybrid, led by Steve Craig. Also, please remember, on the weekend of July 15th and 16th, we are going to welcome to our community an artist in residence whose name is Galit Dardashti. She'll be with us here for worship on Friday evening, a lecture, I think, on an interactive lecture on Shabbat afternoon, and a concert with Havdalah that night called, let's see, the lecture is on Middle Eastern, North African Jewish poetic songs, that is piyutim in Hebrew, from pulpit to pop chart. And it concludes with the Havdalah and concert. So be with us for that. There's more information online that you can find. Balloons tomorrow morning, don't forget that. Anything else that anybody else wants to offer?
Rabbi, I'll mention.
Please, please.
Some of you may have seen some communication or seen on the.
Thank you. I forgot to turn my microphone back on. Some of you may have seen either in communication or on our calendar that I have recently started up a Torah trope workshop. If you look on the calendar and you find where it says Got Trope, it's an opportunity for those who, with some comfort and familiarity with Hebrew reading already, but maybe less familiarity with Torah trope and chanting, who want to learn a little bit about the cantillation, their history, but also be able to learn how to chant some Torah in preparation for future reading and chanting opportunities in our community. We'll be having our first in-person session next Thursday evening, 7 p.m. in the Frank Adult Lounge.
Awesome. And I will be taking a little break here. I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks, so you won't see me for a couple of Shabbatot, but you will be ably led by Cantor Jacob and others, I suspect, along the way. As that's the time of summer, right? We do those vacation things. Mm-hmm.
I have an announcement too.
Alice, please.
There is going to be a really interesting meeting next Wednesday night that's co-sponsored by the Environmental and Climate Change team and the immigration team. And it's a woman specialist in immigration is going to be talking about the intersection of climate change and immigration around the world and what people of faith can be encouraged to do about it. So, and that's also a hybrid meeting, so you're welcome to come here, also in the lounge, or do it on Zoom. But we ask you to sign up so we have an idea of how many people are going to be attending.
That's this coming Wednesday evening. What time is that, Alice?
Pardon?
What time does that start?
It starts at 6:30. No, I think it starts at 7. I'm sorry.
Okay.
7 to 8:30.
So check the website to register, but from 7 to 8:30 this coming Wednesday night, there will be this is for the benefit of the folks online, it will be a special program, the intersection of immigration and the environment, and those causes and how we try to deal with that situation in our world. It's quite a major problem that we anticipate happening. It's happening already, as people who live in low-lying areas are being affected by the ocean's rise and things like that. So please join us for that as well. Cantor.
All right. And then do we want to do this after?
I think after, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So friends, we're going to join together on page 643. Some of you may have heard me give this spiel before on this quote. I'm going to actually say paraphrase from Rav Nachman of Bratslav, who originally wrote that each person in their life has to cross a very narrow bridge. And the most essential thing is not to make oneself afraid, to not give in to one's fear. I will say this translation or this interpretation that we have here, this is not to be afraid at all. Doesn't necessarily resonate with me right now because I will admit that myself on this Shabbat am feeling a healthy dose of fear. But if we take Rav Nachman's original intent, that we should never be afraid, but that we should not make ourselves afraid or give in to our fear, then that can be part of the path that we take forward. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam gesher tsar me'od. Ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam gesher והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד. והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם גשר צר. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם גשר. והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד. 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 לא לפחד כלל.
Page 123.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת
לחיים.
לחיים.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. We'll be out in the lounge.